there's a key phrase I love, and I like repeating it, is prescription without diagnosis is malpractice, and we're guilty of it every single day in the HVAC industry. As soon as we hear IAQ, we immediately go to, hey, there's a gadget on my truck. They had a sale at the supply house. My boss wants me to sell these, and hey, I get a $200 spiff for everyone that leaves the truck, and that's their motivator. And it's like they don't even know what it's doing. They don't know if it's going to help or not. But that's their motivator, and that's okay. If that's your business model and that's who you want to be, well, more power to you. But I mentioned earlier that knowledge is power, right? So, and after the pandemic, we got bombarded with all kinds of that stuff. And so as we're tiptoeing around this subject, we're talking about air purification and different devices. So my philosophy is any kind of technology that puts an additive in the air as part of their technology is an absolute no-go for my clients. Now, keep in mind, my clients came to me with several very compromising conditions: cystic fibrosis, COPD, immune, oncology, lung transplant recipients, Lyme's disease, valley fever, debilitating asthmas. Those are the people that came to me looking for help. And so the very decisions that I help these clients make, their life or their quality of life, depend on it. So I am not going to be slinging spaghetti at the wall and hope a couple noodles stick. You better put your best foot forward, right? Make your decisions based on data and not emotions, or not a dollar sign, and really be able to help your clients. And so when we talk about some of these air purification technologies that are out there, they're a no-go for me, because we can do a lot of heavy lifting and good work if we just get back to basics. And so I'm going to sound like a broken record, because my messaging has been the same for years. I've got 6 key principles. If we can get those 6 key principles under control and know them very well in our business, we're well on our way to becoming IAQ type people, professionals. So one would be thermal comfort. We are in the comfort business, are we not? We sell comfort. That's what we do. And we take it for granted. But when you're dealing with people that are severely compromised, that thermal comfort has a whole different meaning. Because if they're not just such in their comfort spectrum, their symptoms and their conditions can be exaggerated and really start to show up in a bad way. So thermal comfort is really important in IAQ. Also, let's just talk about filtration. Good old-fashioned filtration goes a long, long way. Now, understanding how filtration works and how to design it into a system is key, because not all filters are created equal. We've got a 1-inch glass filter that you can see through, and it's meant to protect the machine. I like to say that it can filter birds, bees, and bats. And if that's all you need to do, then that's fine. And as we go up the filtration spectrum in MERV ratings, which is a minimum efficiency reporting value, the more we go up that ladder, the better it's going to filter. But also, the more resistance it's going to have. And so as we go up, we got 1-inch filters, we got glass filters, we got 2-inch filters, we got extended pleated media filters, and we start to get into 4 and 5-inch filters, and then we go all the way up to a MERV 16, which, depending on what kind of filter you're talking about, is a couple clicks below HEPA. Our sweet spot right now seems to be at a MERV 13. One, it does a pretty good job removing particulates, and it's pretty good on resistance, but it still has to take a little bit of thought and design into a system. And then once we get into MERV 16, that really takes a lot of thought. And then, and also which filtration methods are being used in that filter media. There's 5 prominent ones, and I'm probably going to forget it, but it's diffusion, impingement, interception, electrostatic, and I'm going to forget the last one. But those are all go into how a filter is made, how you choose the filter media, and what those particles, what those strands are made of, how they're woven, microfiber technology. but the biggest impact that those 5 have on a filtration media would be electrostatic, because that is from the strands are made of a synthetic material. I equate that to rubbing a balloon on your arm and sticking it on the wall. That's electrostatic attraction, not electronic, electrostatic. So as the air goes through, that goes a long way in creating a higher MERV. And then, of course, when we talk about impingement, on how those ultra small particles enter that airstream, air is chaotic, right? Those particles will follow an airstream. As we change directions and change shape, we have what's called vena contracta as our face velocity, or our changing of shapes speed up that velocity. They hit that filter. And then so that's that all goes into how we look at filtration and how those things are going to work. But the really small particles will, the impingement, the filter itself will impinge the airflow, causing a little bit of back pressure. This is at a microscopic level, and that particle will now divert from that because of the pressure back up on it. And now those ultrafines will get entangled as we work. And so there's a lot. People pick up a filter and take it totally for granted. And so I think, Zack, maybe on another show, I can do a whole presentation on the science of filtration. That'd be a good one. But anyway,
you're now committed to the second show. All right.
Yeehaw! See?
All right. See, that was great.
So when we move on,
can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes.
Or you want to finish up? You want to finish up what you're saying? Go ahead. I can ask afterwards.
Let me get through my 6. So we've got thermal comfort, filtration. Let's look at humidity control, either too much or the lack thereof, right? Because different climates require different things. What I like to say in my classroom is the why never changes, just the how. So why I do something is pretty constant. How I do something in California is going to look a whole lot different than the Carolinas or Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, right? So humidity control is important, whether we have supplemental dehumidification or we can accomplish that through the latent side of our refrigeration cycle. That all has to go into factor. And then we've got places like Michigan and Minnesota, don't you know, and upstate New York and Canada, where they've got a dehumidifier in the summer and a humidifier in the winter. So knowing your climate and knowing what you need to do to create that comfort climate zone with humidity is important. So when we move from humidity control, we kind of move into what I like to call is building pressures. Now we're dipping our toe into building science. And so understanding building pressures and the effects that maybe our HVAC or different fans have on our building pressures, whether we're in negative pressure, with reference to WRT. Are we doing building pressures with reference to outside? Are we doing room to room, which I call pressure mapping, with reference to the main body of the house? Are we doing with reference to the attic, to an attached garage, to a crawl space? We need to look at WRT, and also looking at where our neutral pressure plane is landing, because that's going to dictate where our predominant infiltration is going to be. Being able to identify that and put numbers to it is important. And so number 5, which could be number 1, let's put the V back in HVAC, ventilation. Ventilation is a huge strategy in IAQ for many reasons. Dilution is the solution for some pollutions. And if we can't get a control of certain things, well, maybe we can use ventilation for dilution. We've been using ventilation in commercial for demand. We got CO2 sensors that, hey, carbon dioxide is a little high. Let's go ahead and open up the economizer. Let's bring on the fan. And so we use ventilation for building pressures as well. And so then ventilation is a huge strategy for our clients. Again, the why never changes, just the how. How I do ventilation in California will look a lot different in your neighborhood. And then last but not least would be pollution or pollutant identification and source control. If we can identify, I almost made up another new word.
I totally believed identify, or whatever that was going to be. Sounds totally legit.
If we can identify the pollutant, that's going to give us a good idea on where it's coming from, and we can go find it, and then we can get the source under control. In my class, I drive home source control, source control, source control. Let's figure out what it is. Let's figure out where it's coming from. Let's get a handle on the source if we can. And then all that other stuff has a fighting chance to be effective, good efficacy on what we're trying to accomplish. So.